In the world of organized crime, few names evoke as much fear and respect as the Nuestra Familia, NF. Rooted in a relentless pursuit of power, this notorious gang has cultivated a legacy of ruthlessness and dominance within and beyond prison walls. As we delve into the lives of the 10 most dangerous NF gang members and leaders, we uncover a narrative steeped in violence, strategy, and an unyielding grip on their criminal empire. Each figure stands as an evidence to the extreme measures taken to maintain control and instill fear. Join us as we explore their stories, understand their rise to power, and the profound impact they have had on the gang's formidable reputation. This journey into the underworld reveals not only their infamous deeds, but also the intricate web of loyalty and treachery that defines the Nuestra Familia. Number 10. Vincent Gerald Garcia. Vincent Gerald Garcia, known within the Nuestra Familia gang as Vincent Gerald, began his association with the gang at a young age. His foundational history with the gang is rooted in his upbringing in a community where NF's influence was pervasive. Garcia quickly rose through the ranks due to his strategic thinking and ability to command respect and loyalty from his peers. He eventually attained the position of regiment commander, a role that placed him in charge of overseeing the gang's operations in Monterey County. As a regiment commander, Garcia was responsible for coordinating various illicit activities both inside and outside the jail system. His leadership extended to managing communications, ensuring compliance with gang rules, and orchestrating violent actions against those who defied the gang's codes. One notable aspect of his tenure was his involvement in directing removals, a term used for organized assaults on gang members who were perceived to have broken the rules. These attacks were brutal and designed to maintain order and instill fear within the ranks. Garcia's involvement in these orchestrated attacks highlighted his ruthlessness and his commitment to maintaining control over the NF's operations. From December 2012 to April 2014, he authorized numerous attacks within the Monterey County Jail. These attacks were meticulously planned to cause significant injury while also creating chaos to distract from the gang's actions. Years after Vincent Gerald Garcia was apprehended and faced multiple charges, including racketeering conspiracy and conspiracy to commit violent acts in aid of racketeering. His trial revealed the extent of his involvement in orchestrating violence and maintaining the NF's stronghold over its members. Garcia was convicted and sentenced to 25 years in federal prison, a term that reflects the severity of his crimes and his significant role within the gang's hierarchy. Today, Vincent Gerald Garcia remains incarcerated, serving his sentence with many other multiple sentences while still locked up. Number 9. Anthony Cuko Guillen. Cuko is a prominent figure within the notorious Nuestra Familia NF gang. His journey into the NF began in the early stages of his life, where he was drawn into the gang's fold, seeking the sense of belonging and power it promised. Rising quickly through the ranks due to his cunning and ruthless efficiency, Guillen cemented his place as a formidable leader within the organization. Guillen's role in the NF was marked by his strategic mind and an unwavering commitment to the gang's objectives. He was known for orchestrating complex operations that extended the gang's influence both inside and outside of prison walls. His activities included overseeing various illicit enterprises that funded the gang's activities, ensuring a steady stream of resources to maintain their dominance. His leadership style was characterized by a blend of charisma and fear, earning him loyalty and obedience from his subordinates. Guillen's position within the gang is one of significant influence. He is part of the NF's governing body, which oversees the gang's operations, both inside and outside prison walls. The NF is known for its strict hierarchical structure, and Guillen's role places him among the top decision-makers. Guillen's criminal activities are extensive and include orchestrating violent confrontations and coordinating illicit enterprises. One notable aspect of his leadership is his involvement in maintaining the gang's power through aggressive strategies. The NF is often in conflict with rival gangs such as the Mexican Mafia and Sureños. These conflicts frequently escalate into violent encounters, further cementing Guillen's reputation as a formidable and dangerous leader. One of the significant operations tied to Guillen was Operation Black Widow, a major federal investigation targeting the NF. This operation led to the indictment of numerous NF leaders, including Guillen. The law eventually caught up with Guillen, and he was arrested as part of the sweeping crackdown during Operation Black Widow. His arrest marked a significant blow to the NF's leadership, as he was considered one of the central figures in their organizational hierarchy. The charges against him and others included racketeering, extortion, and orchestrating violent acts. Guillen's involvement in these activities highlighted his central role in the gang's operations and his capacity to lead through fear and violence. Following his arrest, Guillen faced a lengthy legal battle. He was ultimately convicted and received a substantial prison sentence. His incarceration was a significant victory for law enforcement, disrupting the NF's operations and sending a clear message about the consequences of their activities. Today, Anthony Cuko Guillen remains behind bars, serving his sentence for his crimes. Number 8. Salvador Castro Jr. Salvador is a high-ranking member of the Nuestra Familia. He is known for his significant influence and leadership within the gang. Castro held a position of considerable authority within the gang. He served on the NF's ruling council, often referred to as the Mesa, where he played a critical role in overseeing the gang's activities, enforcing its rules, and managing its operations. His responsibilities included coordinating illicit enterprises, maintaining discipline among members, and directing confrontations with rival gangs, such as the Sureños. These rivalries often resulted in brutal clashes, highlighting Castro's ruthless approach to maintaining the NF's dominance. In addition to violent confrontations, Castro was implicated in numerous racketeering and extortion schemes, leveraging the gang's influence to control illicit activities within and outside prison walls. In 2019, he used contraband cell phones to lead a group of Norteño street gang members in Kings and Tulare counties in a distribution ring for illegal substances. Castro recruited members, encouraged them to commit robberies, and coordinated the transportation, delivery, and resale of the contraband. One notable instance involved Castro coordinating with gang associates to transport approximately 10 pounds of illegal substances from the Sacramento area to a residence in Visalia. He also arranged with co-conspirators outside of prison to protect the shipment during transit and discussed plans to distribute it to buyers in the Central Valley. Castro has been serving a life sentence since 1997 for a third-strike conviction for possession of a firearm by an ex-felon. While serving his sentence, Castro was among a group of dozens charged in federal court with running a major distribution and violent crime network controlled by the Norteño street gang and the Nuestra Familia prison gang, following a 10-month multi-agency law enforcement operation. Despite being incarcerated, Castro continued to play a significant role in these operations. Years later, Castro was re-indicted and charged with multiple counts related to his leadership in the NF, while still locked up. He faced charges of racketeering, conspiracy, and orchestrating violent acts. The evidence presented during his trial painted a vivid picture of his leadership style, marked by strategic planning and ruthless enforcement. Castro was convicted and sentenced again while still in prison to a more lengthy prison term. As of his latest known status, Castro remains incarcerated in a federal prison where he continues to serve his sentence. Number 6. Robert Joseph Gonzalez. Robert Joseph Gonzalez, a name that reverberates through the annals of gang history, is a figure synonymous with the infamous Nuestra Familia. Gonzalez, born in the mid-1970s, grew up in the rough neighborhoods of Northern California, where the pull of gang life was strong. By his late teens, he had been drawn into the orbit of the Nuestra Familia, a gang that promised brotherhood and power to those willing to adhere to its brutal rules. Gonzalez quickly rose through the ranks, demonstrating a cunning intelligence and ruthless determination that set him apart from his peers. By the early 1990s, he had established himself as a key enforcer within the gang, responsible for maintaining discipline and orchestrating various illicit activities. His ability to navigate the dangerous underworld of prison gangs and street affiliates alike made him a valuable asset to the Nuestra Familia leadership. His involvement in the gang's activities was multifaceted. Gonzalez was deeply entrenched in the organization's operations, overseeing the coordination of various ventures and ensuring that the gang's interests were protected at all costs. He became known for his ability to intimidate and manipulate, using both charm and fear to maintain control. Those who crossed him or the gang faced severe repercussions, with Gonzalez often at the helm of orchestrating these retaliatory actions. One of the most notable incidents that highlighted Gonzalez's brutal nature occurred in the late 1990s. The event involved a betrayal by a rival gang member from the Mexican Mafia, an act that Gonzalez could not let go unpunished. He meticulously planned a retaliatory strike that would send a clear message to all who dared challenge the Nuestra Familia. This operation, executed with precision, involved coordinated efforts between several gang members, showcasing Gonzalez's strategic mind and his ability to command loyalty and fear. The names of individuals involved in these operations often remain shrouded in secrecy, an evidence to the gang's tight-knit and clandestine nature. However, it is known that Gonzalez worked closely with other high-ranking members of the Nuestra Familia, including figures like David DC Cervantes and Antonio Cuko Guillen. These alliances allowed him to strengthen his position within the gang, making him a formidable leader who wielded significant influence. Despite his efforts to maintain a low profile, law enforcement agencies had been monitoring Gonzalez's activities for years. In the early 2000s, a concerted effort by federal and state authorities culminated in a major crackdown on the Nuestra Familia. Gonzalez, who had become a prime target due to his prominent role within the gang, was eventually arrested in 2001. The arrest marked a turning point in Gonzalez's life. He was charged with a slew of offenses, including conspiracy to commit racketeering and involvement in violent crimes associated with the gang's operations. His trial, which took place in 2002, was closely watched by both law enforcement and the public, highlighting the extent of his influence and the threat he posed. And in 2003, Gonzalez was convicted and sentenced to a lengthy prison term. Today, Robert Joseph Gonzalez remains incarcerated, serving his sentence in a high-security federal prison in the United States. Number 5. Gerald Queda, Rubalcaba. Gerald is a notorious figure in the annals of organized crime, particularly known for his pivotal role within the Nuestra Familia gang. His journey from a young, troubled individual to a central player in one of California's most feared criminal organizations is a tale of ambition, ruthless determination, and a series of significant criminal undertakings. Rubalcaba's story began in the late 1980s in the heart of California, a period marked by a surge in gang activity and violence. Queda's entry into the world gangs was marked by his exceptional ability to navigate the dangerous dynamics of gang life. Rising through the ranks, he eventually secured a prominent position within the gang, becoming one of its key leaders. His reputation was built on a series of high-profile criminal activities that showcased his strategic mind and ruthless efficiency. These activities included orchestrating large-scale criminal enterprises, often involving complex schemes that extended beyond the gang's initial scope of operations. Rubalcaba's involvement in criminal activities was not limited to mere participation. He played a crucial role in orchestrating and executing various operations that significantly impacted the gang's standing and influence. His criminal endeavors included sophisticated schemes that disrupted the lives of many, contributing to the gang's feared reputation. This involved a calculated approach to undermining rival gangs and neutralizing threats to his position of power. His actions often resulted in severe consequences, for those who crossed him or challenged his authority, cementing his status as a formidable and dangerous leader. One notable chapter in Rubalcaba's criminal career involved his interactions with rival gangs and key figures in the underworld. His conflicts with members of rival organizations were marked by a series of high-stakes confrontations that often escalated into violent encounters. These interactions were not merely confrontational, but strategic, designed to weaken rival factions and consolidate his own power within the Nuestra Familia. The impact of his actions was felt across the criminal landscape, affecting the lives of many individuals and perpetuating a cycle of violence and retribution. Rubalcaba's criminal activities and his role within the Nuestra Familia eventually attracted the attention of law enforcement agencies. His ability to evade capture for an extended period was an evidence to his cunning nature and the resources at his disposal. However, his criminal empire began to unravel with a series of coordinated law enforcement operations aimed at dismantling the Nuestra Familia's network. These efforts culminated in Rubalcaba's arrest in the early 2000s. In 2003, after a series of intense investigations and legal battles, Rubalcaba was convicted on multiple counts related to his criminal activities. The charges included his involvement in a range of illicit operations that underscored his leadership role and the extensive nature of his criminal enterprise. He was sentenced to a significant prison term, reflecting the severity of his actions and their impact on both his victims and the broader community. Today, Gerald Queda Rubalcaba remains incarcerated, serving his sentence at a federal prison in the United States. Number 4. Cornelio Tristan. Cornelio Tristan emerged from the shadows of California's fertile farmlands, a land rich with promise, yet fraught with hidden peril. He grew up in a small, unassuming town where dreams often withered in the harsh sun, replaced by the lure of power and control. As a young man, Tristan's path diverged from the straight and narrow, leading him into the heart of the Nuestra Familia gang. Tristan's rise within the Nuestra Familia was marked by his sharp intellect and uncompromising brutality. He swiftly ascended the ranks, demonstrating a strategic mind and a willingness to engage in actions that left an indelible mark on the gang's enemies. By the mid-1980s, Tristan had secured a position of significant authority within the organization, known as a carnal, or brother, indicating his deep allegiance and pivotal role. His activities were as varied as they were ruthless. In 1988, he orchestrated a series of coordinated strikes against rival gangs, including the Mexican Mafia and the Aryan Brotherhood. These confrontations were brutal, characterized by a level of precision and ferocity that struck fear into the hearts of his adversaries. Among his notable adversaries was Joe Morgan, a high-ranking member of the Mexican Mafia. Their clashes were legendary, with Tristan employing both cunning and brute force to maintain his gang's dominance. Tristan's leadership was further cemented by his involvement in intricate schemes that included extortion, robbery, and complex networks of protection rackets that spanned from the bustling streets of Los Angeles to the quieter, unsuspecting towns of Northern California. His ability to navigate these dangerous waters and maintain control over such a sprawling network was an evidence to his cunning resolve. One of the most notorious episodes in Tristan's criminal career occurred in 1991 when he masterminded a violent offensive against the rival Norteños gang. This series of attacks left a trail of devastation and showcased Tristan's strategic acumen and his ability to inspire ruthless loyalty among his followers. Victims of these offensives included prominent Norteños figures such as Little Smiley and Big Joker, whose demises underscored the lethal nature of Tristan's operations. However, Tristan's reign of terror was not to last indefinitely. In 1993, a massive law enforcement operation known as Operation Black Widow targeted the leadership of Nuestra Familia. This operation was a concerted effort by federal, state, and local agencies to dismantle the gang's leadership and cripple its operations. Tristan, along with several other high-ranking members, was arrested in a series of coordinated raids. The evidence against him was overwhelming, including wiretaps, surveillance footage, and testimonies from former gang members who had turned state witnesses. In 1995, Tristan was convicted on multiple counts, including racketeering, conspiracy, and involvement in violent crimes. He was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The trial was a landmark event, shining a light on the inner workings of Nuestra Familia and the extensive criminal activities orchestrated by its leaders. Today, Cornelio Tristan remains incarcerated in a high-security federal prison in the United States, where he is serving his jail sentence. Number 3. Tex Marine Hernandez. Tex Marine was born in California, where he grew up in an environment steeped in gang culture. From a young age, he was drawn to the allure of power and respect that the streets offered. His ascent within Nuestra Familia, one of the most formidable prison gangs, was marked by a series of calculated moves and alliances that showcased his strategic mind and unyielding resolve. Tex Marine Hernandez's entry into this world was not just a matter of survival, but a deliberate choice to rise through the ranks and assert his dominance. Tex's reputation within Nuestra Familia grew as he demonstrated his leadership capabilities and unwavering commitment to the gang's cause. He quickly moved up the ranks, assuming significant roles that involved overseeing various operations. His position allowed him to orchestrate a range of activities, from coordinating logistics to enforcing the gang's code of conduct. Tex's strategic mind was evident in his ability to maintain order and discipline within the gang, ensuring that members adhered to the rules and that the organization's interests were always prioritized. One of Tex's most notable activities was his involvement in the extortion and protection rackets that spanned both inside and outside the prison walls. He established a network that demanded respect and compliance from local businesses, ensuring a steady flow of resources for Nuestra Familia. His influence extended to the streets, where he managed to maintain control over various territories, further solidifying the gang's grip on the criminal landscape. Tex's ruthlessness was exemplified in his dealings with rival gangs and those who dared to challenge Nuestra Familia's authority. One such incident involved a violent confrontation with members of the Sureños, a rival gang aligned with the Mexican mafia. Tex orchestrated a calculated strike against a Sureños member who had encroached on Nuestra Familia's territory. The clash resulted in a brutal altercation that left a lasting impact on both gangs, showcasing Tex's willingness to use force to protect his interests. Tex's ability to manipulate and control his environment was further demonstrated through his interactions with law enforcement. He maintained a low profile, often using intermediaries to conduct his operations, making it difficult for authorities to pin any charges directly on him. His knack for evading law enforcement only added to his mystique and reputation as an untouchable figure within the gang world. However, Tex's reign was not destined to last forever. In a coordinated effort by federal and state law enforcement agencies, a major crackdown on Nuestra Familia's activities was initiated. Tex Marine Hernandez found himself at the center of this operation. In 2001, he was arrested during a large-scale raid that targeted key members of the gang. The charges against him included conspiracy to commit racketeering and other organized crime-related activities. Tex's trial was a high-profile affair, drawing attention to the inner workings of Nuestra Familia and his role within the organization. Despite his attempts to maintain a stoic demeanor, the evidence against him was overwhelming. In 2003, he was convicted and sentenced to life in prison, without the possibility of parole. Today, Tex Marine Hernandez remains incarcerated, serving his sentence in a maximum security prison in the United States. Number 2. David DC Cervantes. David DC Cervantes was born and raised in California. Cervantes was initially drawn into gang life during his teenage years. His involvement with the Nuestra Familia began in the early 1980s, a period when the gang was expanding its influence and operations. Cervantes, known for his strategic acumen and ruthless approach, quickly rose through the ranks, eventually securing a position of significant authority within the organization. His role within the Nuestra Familia was marked by his involvement in high-stakes operations and his ability to navigate the complex dynamics of gang politics. As a key figure in the Nuestra Familia, Cervantes was instrumental in orchestrating numerous criminal enterprises. His activities were not limited to a single aspect of the gang's operations, but spanned various illegal endeavors, including extortion and organized theft. His strategic leadership was evident in his ability to manage and execute complex plans, often involving multiple levels of coordination and secrecy. The precision with which Cervantes conducted his operations earned him a reputation as a formidable and dangerous leader within the criminal underworld. One of Cervantes' notable criminal activities involved a series of high-profile extortion schemes targeting business owners and community leaders. His operations were characterized by meticulous planning and a deep understanding of the local business landscape, allowing him to exert pressure and secure substantial financial gains for the Nuestra Familia. These actions were part of a broader pattern of behavior that demonstrated his ruthlessness and effectiveness as a leader. Cervantes' criminal activities were not without conflict. His interactions with rival gangs often escalated into violent confrontations. Notably, his disputes with members of the Sureños gang, a rival criminal organization, were particularly intense. These conflicts were marked by strategic maneuvers and retaliatory actions that further cemented Cervantes' reputation as a dangerous figure within the criminal community. The animosity between Cervantes and rival gang members was a defining aspect of his criminal career, contributing to his notoriety and the overall tension within the criminal underworld. Despite his high profile and criminal success, Cervantes' career was not immune to law enforcement scrutiny. In the mid-1990s, after years of orchestrating illegal activities, he was arrested on multiple charges related to his criminal enterprises. His arrest was the result of a coordinated effort by law enforcement agencies that had been tracking his activities for an extended period. The charges against him included multiple counts of extortion and involvement in organized theft. In 1997, Cervantes was sentenced to a lengthy prison term, reflecting the severity of his crimes and the impact of his leadership within the Nuestra Familia. Today, David DC Cervantes remains incarcerated, serving his sentence in a federal correctional facility in the United States. Number 1. Robert "BABO" Sosa. Robert "BABO" Sosa's name reverberates through the dark corridors of the Nuestra Familia, a gang known for its ironclad code of loyalty and ruthless enforcement. Born into a world where power often outweighed morality, Sosa's life became a witness to the relentless pursuit of dominance. La Mesa, the governing board of the Nuestra Familia, included Sosa, one of its most notorious generals. Rising to power in the 1970s, he became known as Nuestro General. By the 1980s, Sosa had climbed to the top of the gang's hierarchy, his reputation for unwavering loyalty and ruthless efficiency preceding him. Sosa's position within the gang was one of significant influence. He held a seat in the gang's top echelon, making strategic decisions that would shape the fate of countless individuals, both inside and outside prison walls. His leadership was marked by a stringent adherence to the gang's code, ensuring that betrayal was met with severe consequences. Throughout his reign, Sosa was involved in numerous criminal activities that underscored his formidable presence. These acts were not mere displays of violence, but calculated moves to instill fear and maintain control. One such incident involved a rival gang, the Mexican Mafia. The rivalry between these two factions was fierce, and Sosa orchestrated numerous operations against them, each more daring than the last. His ability to plan and execute these operations showcased his strategic mind and his commitment to his gang's supremacy. However, the most chilling chapter of Sosa's life was the tragic fate of his brother, who had fallen out of favor with Nuestra Familia, accused of betraying the gang. In a world where loyalty was paramount, betrayal, or even the suspicion of it, was the gravest sin. Robert, bound by the gang's unyielding code, faced a harrowing decision. The directive was clear. To maintain order and set an example, High Brother had to be eliminated. Robert "BABO" Sosa ordered the murder of his own brother, though he did not personally carry out the killing, but rather directed other gang members to commit the crime. Sosa's motive for ordering the slaughter was reportedly related to a power struggle within the gang, as well as concerns about his brother's loyalty. The incident highlighted Sosa's ruthlessness and willingness to use violence to maintain control and eliminate perceived threats. Sosa's criminal activities extended beyond orchestrating operations and enforcing brutal discipline. He was involved in numerous armed confrontations and illicit enterprises that fueled the gang's dominance. His involvement in these activities painted a picture of a man who thrived on power and control, unafraid to cross any line to assert his authority. However, Sosa's reign came to an end in 2007 when law enforcement finally caught up with him. His arrest was the result of a comprehensive operation that aimed to dismantle the Nuestra Familia's leadership. The evidence against him was overwhelming, leading to his conviction on multiple counts of conspiracy and racketeering. On March 13, 2009, Robert "BABO" Sosa was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Today, Robert Sosa resides in a maximum security prison where he is serving his jail sentence in the United States.